the time of year that the southern magnolias are blooming. I'm here in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, to be precise. And my southern magnolias, Magnolia Grandiflora, are blooming very well this year. And the coppery color, they're planted just over 2 years ago, and the coppery color on them is amazing this year. I do have, let me think about this, 7. And I have 3 or 4 different varieties. So this one, if I remember correctly, is a little gem. Small flowers. Smells great. I can smell the trees every time I come out front here. Just wonderful glossy leaves. Probably one of the nicest native trees to North America. They do like water, so I do water them. Nothing too crazy, but as you can see, there are flower buds popping up everywhere. So these are rated down to zone 6. I would say a southern zone 6. If you're in the northern zone, I would probably say closer to zone 7. I'm originally from Ontario, Canada, and I do know of large specimens. So there are some varieties that are more cold hardy than others. I think Bracken's brown might be one of the good ones. So this one's a little gem. Continue on down the line. These are Cape Parris. Slightly different shape to the leaves, and the flowers are bigger. Again, really nice, and they smell amazing. And the thing I like, well, there's more than one thing to like about these, really. 1, they're evergreen, so I love that. 2, they have the beautiful copper underside. And 3, they bloom all summer long, unlike your kind of standard deciduous magnolias that bloom in spring and they're just kind of like a one-hit wonder. These things look great year-round. This one I planted last year, so it's behind the others. 1 year behind. It's coming along. And then down here we got a couple more. These ones are a little gem. The one thing I will say about them, at least in my climate, I get a lot of ice storms and they don't do well with the weight. This one's broken off. You can kind of tell there's some missing here, but it's recovering. The good thing about these is that they do come from areas with ice, so that when they do break off, they are able to send up new growth from those areas. So like I said, I don't know if I said it, these get to about 20 to 25 feet, slow growing. I get mine at Home Depot. They always bring them in at Home Depot in the spring. They bring in a very limited number, but they're about half the price or a third of the price that you pay at a nursery. Eventually these seed pods ripen and you get bright red seeds. So 4 of these I planted just over 2 years ago. The other one I planted a year ago. So we're going to go in the backyard and we'll take a look at the 2 big ones. They were unnamed, so I'm not exactly sure what variety they are. I think they might be Victoria, which is another very common one. So let's go back and have a look. So here we are in my backyard late in the evening. This one is one of my unknown ones. I planted it 7 years ago. Was not much higher than the fence. You know, at most it was 7 feet tall. And it is probably 15 feet wide now. It's really growing wide. The cool thing about southern magnolias is that they'll hold on to their bottom leaves. I've seen them, you know, in the south where they're native, and they will almost grow almost like a Christmas tree shape to them. If you don't trim them, they'll have leaves all the way to the bottom. I keep them on the bottom. So this one, quite big, but this is the whole area that unfortunately got broke off. Is just the way the snow came this year. Really heavy wet snow. This one produces very beautiful red berries. It's got the bright red on the new flowers, so hard to see in there. I did have Spanish moss growing on this. I figured that was kind of a cool thing. I mean, they're both from that area, but the birds stole it all in the spring. They thought it was the coolest thing ever and used it for their nests. So Survives our winters here, but it doesn't survive the birds. All right, my final Southern Magnolia probably was planted 6 years ago, maybe? At least 5, if not 6. Another unknown variety. This one is quite green. Does not have the coppery, I mean, you saw those ones in the front. The copper was incredible. These ones, for this particular one, for the longest time only produced green, but you can see there's a little bit of that fuzz on the underside. But the thing about this particular magnolia, it produces absolutely enormous flowers, dinner plate size. Here's a small one, it's just about to open, but I don't know if you can see my hand, there's my thumb. Similar in size to the big leaf magnolia flowers. This one smells great, but absolutely huge flowers, very green underside to the leaves. I don't know if this is like a wild type. Not a lot of flowers this year. Definitely faster growing than the other ones I have. It's really getting up there. Suffers from the same thing here. You can see the sideways branch. That was from the ice storm a few years back. That's the only problem with these in our climate, is because the ice gets on the leaves and there's so many big thick leaves that it tends to weigh it down. But this one did pretty well with the snow this year. But just another great plant. Definitely, like I mentioned earlier, I think it's one of the nicest North American tree species you can get, and many of us tropical gardening enthusiasts use these as part of our display. You're not going to run into the same sort of problems as a eucalyptus that grow ridiculously fast. These things seem to be slow and steady, although this one has picked up the pace quite noticeably in the last year. There's my hand around the trunk. Very solid. There's a lot of water. This is one of the wettest spots in my yard, and they do like that because they are from hot and humid areas that do get summer irrigation. So if you're in a dry spot like me, they can tolerate it. They do seem to be remarkably drought tolerant, but they do appreciate a good drink every now and then. Hope you're all having a great day out there. Thanks for watching.